Welcome to the Drive-By Entrepreneur podcast, which exists to bring current and compelling content to entrepreneurs and influencers of small to mid-sized organizations. I'm John Frank, fellow entrepreneur and the owner of Third Road Management. And with this podcast, we will connect with a variety of experienced and dynamic individuals to shed some light on both the art and science of entrepreneurship. Before we begin, I'd like to thank our sponsors. First, my very own Third Road Management, a company that brings fractional CFO services to small and mid-sized organizations by revolutionizing the CFO suite. We'd also like to thank Two Hound Red, a brewery and restaurant located in Glen Ellen, Illinois, that is focused on creating classic, innovative beer and food. And finally, we'd like to thank NWC Media, which provides inbound marketing technology, project workflow management, and efficiency consulting to organizations of varied sizes, who is also the producer of the Drive-By Entrepreneur podcast. All right, Damon Patton, welcome to the podcast, man.
Thank you for having me, John.
This is going to be a lot of fun. I've been very excited about this opportunity to sit down and chat with you. We met not that long ago at the finalist reception for the Chicago Innovation Awards.
I'm glad you remembered that because I was going to flub that kick all day.
Yeah. Well, Ryan Kunkel, who you met too, our president here.
What up, Ryan?
He was, we were just there, didn't know a lot of people. They started doing their presentation and you just kind of came up to us and you were like,
in typical Damon Patton fashion. Ever the salesman.
You've never met a stranger is what I gathered early on.
Very true. Not drinking my beer for sure. You guys were drinking my beer.
That's true. That's true. And it was delicious and a good conversation. And that kicked off, a friendship that I think is even still to this day developing. And,
absolutely.
But anyway, it's been great to get to know you a little bit and know your story. And, it's sort of the mission statement of the podcast. We want to bring current and compelling content to entrepreneurs and influencers of small to mid-sized organizations, right?
Sure.
So like every entrepreneurial story has got a story, you know what I mean? And there's so much, I think, that we can learn from one another, shared experiences, obstacles you've overcome, key decisions that you've made that ended up being the right decisions.
And the wrong ones too. Those are the real life lessons as far as I'm concerned.
Yes. And I liken it. I mean, I always kind of give credit where it's due, but I love this podcast called How I Built This. That's through NPR. Guy Raz basically talks to people that have built like these, huge brands in most cases. And I was just like, man, I love that idea and hearing those stories, but I love, the types of businesses that I work with.
Right.
You know what I mean? I want to learn those stories. I want to hear about those stories. So
before I get to there?
Yeah.
You got you.
Yeah. Before Guy Raz gets to you.
Pretty much.
I did. Right. All right. So by way of introduction, you're the co-founder and CEO of Moor's Brewing Company, Chicago's first.
Not first.
I
wish we could say first. There are 5 other Black-owned beer companies here in Chicago.
Okay.
They all are our brothers and sisters.
Yep.
We're probably the largest, but we're not the first.
Not the first one.
Yeah.
Okay. So Chicago's perhaps largest African-American owned craft brewing company.
We just go with Black-owned.
Okay. There we go. All right. So your story, I mean, I know the story where it picked up. With the idea to start the brewery. We talked about that.
Yep. And
you give me a little bit of background of your career kind of prior to that, but this is not like a timed exercise. If you had an opportunity to what's your story sort of leading up to this?
Oh, man.
It's oftentimes there's just there's so many points along the way that all seem to string together in the story. So
for sure,
go back as far as you want to go, but
we'll go back to U of I. I met my business partners. Well, one of them I met there, Jamal Johnson and I, CFO and co-founder. We met at University of Illinois freshman year. Anthony Bell, our other co-founder, I actually knew from first grade. We went to Beasley Academic Center together here in the city.
Yep.
But University of Illinois, Jamal and I we threw parties back then. We were, throwing homecoming parties and we threw different house party functions and things like that for the Black clientele that was at U of I. I played lacrosse down there, so I had a pretty diverse group of friends. And that kind of was the beginning of our entrepreneurial ventures together. That let me know, Jamal came up with great ideas. I had a couple friends that were DJs, a couple more that had sound equipment, excuse me. And we were able to put together some programs that were successful. We rented a bus during homecoming. Nobody rode the bus though. That's what was crazy about it. We had this like grandiose scheme to like have like 3 parties or 2 parties at the same time. I don't remember what it was, but I remember we got a bus from like the Champaign transit system. I forget what they call it down there. But I mean, it was like a legit like 65 person bus that we had. Oh, everybody's gonna be drunk. We'll take them from this party to that party. It'll be great. But we were able to pull it off. Parties were successful. Transpo was not. Nobody used it. But it just showed me that Jamal was someone that I could work with and get my dreams off. Really, that was just something we just kind of ideated over beers, probably. And we were able to pull it off. And that kind of started us off as hey, you know what? I might be able to work with this guy doing other things. That led into a career in finance. I dropped out of University of Illinois to get my Series 7, Series 63, Series 4. I became an options principal downtown Chicago. Did that for a little while, rolled up a stake, and then went to Miami to buy my condominium and just live for a little while. You're 20, I was 26, 27 at the time when I got down there. You've been shoveling snow all your life, and you get to Miami Beach, and it's December, and they got topless women on the beach, like in December. And that was it for me. I was working from a computer. It was 2003.
Still doing options stuff? Okay.
Primarily, that's where my money came from, quite frankly. And then that turned into a love of dining. I ate out every day. The love of dining turned into a love of cooking, but not that much. I mean, I could cook. I just didn't go overboard with it. I definitely wanted to learn more technique as I kind of figured out, damn, I can't make that. Like, stuff you're eating, but you can't make it. Like, we got to eat Italian. I'm not ordering spaghetti. You make that at the house.
Right.
We're ordering masticholis. We're ordering stuffed pasta. We're ordering something that I'm not making at the house. Like, so it became a little bit of that. And I moved back to Chicago to take an opportunity with a pharmaceutical company out in Bentonville. My partners down there in Florida, who I took jiu-jitsu with at the time, were telling me, hey, we're going to open this pharmacy. He was, I had a young friend. He was maybe 35, 37 years old, but more money than God. Had this huge house in Western Florida. And, we took jiu-jitsu together. So we punched each other in the face about 1,000 times since I know him, And he was basically like, I want you to run this pharmacy for me. I'm like, I don't know anything about long-term care pharmacy. He's like, we'll teach you. You're smart. We'll figure it out. So I ended up opening a long-term care pharmacy here in Bensonville. We put 10,000 beds on the board in 1 year. So it's like 1,000 a month. It was like 32 nursing home facilities we serviced. That at that time was kind of the biggest operation I was a part of, and just kind of seeing how we went from, choosing a warehouse to stocking a warehouse to building a clean room to staffing the place. I mean, it was, seeing it all happen to eventually getting bought by, Omnicare, a large pharmaceutical company that bought us out about 1.5 years later. Just seeing it go from, beginning, I'm unlocking the door to empty warehouse to, now we got these guys coming in here to buy it for 9 figures, and just watching that process happen. Now I was smitten. I was like, all right, I need way more money. Like, So, that turned into me deciding I wanted to open up a soul food restaurant down in Miami Beach. So I went back down there after the long-term care pharmacy thing. And
timeline wise, what years are we in right now?
So that would have been 2014 that I went back down. And then I determined that, well, okay, so there was something that happened between there, I should say that. So long-term care pharmacy thing happened. I wanted to open a restaurant. I was thinking a soul food restaurant, a prefix, 7-9 courses, 75, 85 a person, plus wine, plus gratuity kind of thing. Because I just hadn't seen it. I'd been eating in haute cuisine for, I don't know, a decade at that point. And I hadn't seen it, what I call classic American fare, what my mother called soul food.
Yeah.
I just didn't see anything like that. I suggested it to a very prominent 3 Michelin star restaurateur here in the city. And the gentleman told me that's a good idea, but something you'd have to do. So I was like, that's it. I got blessed by the God,
Yeah.
So I went back down to Florida after working with this particular restaurant group for about a year and a half. So 2015 is when I went back down to Florida. I rolled up a stake for myself. I had a couple $100,000 that I was trying to open a restaurant with. That did not work out. At that point, I'd eaten a little bit too much caviar and, Salon champagne. So I was a little bougie.
Yeah.
And the $400,000 that I gave myself, 240 or so would have went towards the lease of the place that I liked. And I just didn't have enough money. And I was pig-headed and I didn't want a partner. And I just wanted to do the whole thing myself.
Yep.
So I actually lived in a Hasidic Jewish neighborhood down on 41st Street in Miami Beach, where I have a bunch of friends to this day. I got 3-4 rabbis' numbers in my phone right now. So I'm, the neighborhood bar there, it's a kosher steakhouse that I frequented since 2009, 2008. So they've known me for years. I'm in there and basically crying in my beer, because a dream that I really kind of propelled myself towards wasn't going to happen. One of the gentlemen that owned the place was like, so you have all this experience in restaurants now, and Moisha's got a restaurant, he's got a whole hotel, he's got a restaurant at the bottom and his service sucks. Why don't you just go over there and help him out? I'm like, I can't help out Moisha. It's going to take, I need like $6,000 a week to help out Moisha. I'm only going to work 20 hours a week. It's not, Moisha shows up with a check for $6,000. He calls him, the guy comes to the bar and he's like, you start Monday. So that turned into a restaurant consultation business. I was able to show, this is before there were Michelin star restaurants in Miami Beach. I was able to show, especially in the kosher community, who they had, they call it a milk. So they had a pizza store and they had a meat, which was a steakhouse. And they had a late night grill that did hot dogs and beer. And then they had a kosher catering operation where we would have bar mitzvahs for 3,000 people, weddings for 5,000. It was insane. And I'm watching these guys work and I'm just like, this would never fly for Michelin star service. So, I just kind of tried to help them tighten up a little bit.
Yep.
And that worked really well for me until COVID. COVID came March 2020 and just totally harpooned that lovely business I made.
Yep.
And I found myself sitting on the couch drinking the St. Pauli Girl. St. Pauli Girl's got a scantily clad white woman on it with, big bustier on, and, the whole Dutch beer girl thing going.
Yep.
And I just thought to myself, I've never seen a black man on a beer can before.
Yep.
And I called Jamal, who obviously I'd been working with for a decade, almost 2 at that point. And his first reaction was, nah, there's got to be a reason why black people don't own beer carts. It's just ridiculous. I just drank a beer. What I'm saying? I had one in my hand. We were both drinking beers, having the conversation.
Yeah.
And, he's always the skeptic. He's always kind of the one that I'm the, go. And he's the one that pops the reins on me. So that's how we work.
And he was working with you in the restaurant?
No.
Consulting stuff?
He was actually here in Chicago. They were doing a drive-in movie theater at Soldier Field. And while I was sitting on the couch in Miami Beach, not making any money, he was here with our other partner, and they were making money every week. They were really one of the only businesses that I was watching them from Miami. What the fuck? These guys are like, and it was like the whole parking lot of Soldier Field. And they had like, movies that went off, I think 3 or 4 times a week.
And this is in COVID you're talking about.
Yeah, the drive-in movie theater is my business partner's thing, So they were making money. I wasn't. So I was like, all right, I got to figure out something. This is not going to work, And out of that, I had the conversation with him, like, I don't think there's any beer companies, We were able to find 85 Black-owned beer companies. There's 9,632 beer companies in the United States, 85 of which are Black-owned. Okay. So less than 1% of the industry is Black-owned. What kind of we determined about them after extensive research and extensive kind of just deep diving, calling a few of them and visiting a few of them, was that many of them are playing to their strength, which is their local communities. And we didn't see any that could be a household name in African-American owned beer, Black-owned beer. Yeah. And that was a problem for us. Like, we were like, what the fuck? These guys everybody's selling vodka, everybody's selling tequila. There's wine people, there's champagne people. Why no beer people? Like, what, nobody Black wants to hop in the beer space. My granddad drank beer. My father drank beer. I drank beer. Like, what, what's happening, 48, the younger guys don't drink it as much as we do. But I think I'd give them a little time to, they're going to end up coming back around, in my opinion, as well. But yeah, leading up to that, that's pretty much kind of how it went, man. We started looking at this thing together, and Jamal was pretty adamant about making it a cultural thing. I think that was the difference that was between us and what we were seeing in the Black space at the time. A lot of guys, this guy's out in Asheville, North Carolina. This guy's out in California. There are any pockets in Texas and stuff like that. They didn't lean into the Blackness of it, They didn't, it was almost like they didn't want to.
They didn't want to make it an issue or something.
Like, I have, and you've known me now long enough to know this. I just don't operate like that. Yeah. Like, I went to boarding school. I had a school year abroad. That's where I figured out who the Moors were in Barcelona. I like to say, the raisin in the bowl of milk since I was 14 years old. And I knew from those experiences that, you can have a race conversation without it, nosediving, crashing, burning. Right. So we were looking for something, I call it philosophical nectar. The history of the Moors is on our can. Yep. And it's kind of a conversation starter for us. Yeah. Yeah. I love it. Yeah. Which you actually, so hitting on a couple of things. One is inspiration. Yeah. You talked about never having seen a Black man on a beer can before or whatever. They exist. Right. There's a couple of them are out there, but it's just like, you don't know them. If I don't say it right now, you'd never be like, oh, like, it's like. Right. Right. But the first steps, other than talking to Jamal, like how do you get this from, hey, here's an idea, to, okay, we're actually doing this? Like, what were the the first? It took a year, man. The first step was calling Jamal. Yeah. Because again, he's, for me, that guy is, again, he's like a deal filter almost for me. Jamal's one of the smartest people I know. He, like I said, pops the reins on me. He'd be like, dude, you're going way too hard right now. Like, you just need to calm the fuck down. Like, so that's kind of like how our dynamic plays out. Yep. And when I said, hey, I think we should do beer, he was like, somebody would have done it if it was viable, and I'm like, I don't know. I think they're just kind of, this one has just been like an old boys network. It's just like, it just never was permeated correct. There were Schlitz, there were St. Ides. Mickey's Ice made a huge run in the African-American communities in the 90s and when I was young. And there were brands that we saw be very successhul in the African-American space. They were not Black owned. Yep. But they were advertised completely to Black people. I've never seen a white guy drink a Schlitz malt liquor when I was growing up. It was only Black people that I saw drinking that. So you didn't live in my house. So I'm sure it happened. And the thing about it was I knew a bunch of Irish who were telling me, their dads drank Mickey's, and I was like, yeah, so does mine. You know what I mean? But he drank Hams, he drank Old Style. I mean, I saw them drink the gambit of cheap, what I like to call like cold horse piss now,
Yeah.
But back then it was top tier beer. Those are the beers that I was stealing on my granddad's fridge, Hams and Narragansetts and, that kind of stuff. So, what we wanted to do was not only use beer as a blank canvas, one that we could, just highlight our creativity. Because, a lot of times with businesses, it's so cut and dry. It doesn't leave a lot of room for thinking out the box, creativity, just flex and space for creativity, really. We wanted to elevate the beer space after realizing that there were so many different kind of opportunities that we just didn't recognize right away. But after doing the research, like, dude, these guys are not, we can approach this completely differently. We wanted to do something that was cool. We wanted to do something that was culture forward.
Yep.
And we wanted to do something that was absolutely eye-catching, memorable, something that we could sell in New York and in LA, in Miami, and in Chicago.
Yep.
And not worry about it at all, because we realized there was nothing that was nationalized. So that was kind of
and all your creative juices like come out, I think, in the brand. I mean, everything from the website to, the swag, to the design of the cans and the artwork and all that kind of stuff. But how do you, none of you guys were brewers, right? So
I came to Chicago. My mother got sick with COVID, October 2020. I came to Chicago to check on her.
Yep.
We had been planning the business plan and I've been trying to talk to lawyers, and I was setting up appointments for my partners, and they would blow them off, so when I got here to Chicago, to check on mom, after I figured out she got everything that she needed to take care of her COVID thing, I went to go see breweries, and I started talking to brewers, and I started to figure out, okay, this guy I don't want to work with, or this guy wants to work with me, but, I don't know if he really gets what we're trying to do, or, I wasn't trying to, as soon as we got out there, everybody was trying to take the black man off the beer can. Like, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to? And I'm like, I even got a little swayed for a second. Jamal like put the battery back in my back, like, fuck no, we're doing this. Like, so it was one of those, it was kind of, I came back, we saw before, we met Drew Fox over at, 18th Street Brewery in Hammond, Indiana. I visited 26 breweries in probably 3 weeks, trying to find a home for ourselves, trying to figure out where we're going to make this stuff.
Yep.
And Drew was gracious enough to help us with recipes and help us kind of get the beer in the can and get us our start,
Yep.
Shout out to Drew. But yeah, it was definitely that way. We get started carefully,
Yep.
You're hopping into an industry that you don't know anybody you can ask questions to. We didn't know anybody making beer. We didn't know if we could call anybody that was currently making beer that we were able to find. So it was a lot to get started. It was definitely hard work and dedication. Like I said, we planned for over a year before we launched. So it was one of those.
That's great. Thank you for, summarizing that. So obviously you've been formally launched for, is it 4 or 5 years now? 4 and a half, maybe?
4 years and on Juneteenth of this year of 2025.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you got a bright future ahead. When you're still dreaming about what that future, has for, the company, right? Where do you feel like, in your mind, where do you want to take it?
We're going to be in the top 10 cities in America.
Okay.
In the next 3 years. $300 million valuation.
Okay.
Probably pushing about 30 to 35,000 barrels a year.
Okay.
We're currently at about 5,000 barrels. So that's where we're going.
Okay.
Yeah. And anything holding us back from that is money right now. I mean,
so what are the obstacles that you've had to kind of trip over, overcome?
As with every Black-owned business in America, money is an issue. Not every, shouldn't put it that way. There's some very powerful guys out here, but most of them have funding issues. Okay. We are fortunate that our funding issues are, you know, in the high six figures, mid to high six figures, but they're problems nonetheless. You know, we're looking to open a taproom space. We're looking to own our own brewery. And to get in each one of the markets cost about $500,000 to operate for the first year. Okay. So, you know, it's $5 million in 10 markets. So that's what we're looking to raise right now. Okay. And it's all allocated to product, personnel, and marketing. I mean, it breaks down into 3 buckets. It's pretty easy. I mean, you know, we're not working for NASA here. We're selling beer. Yep. So, you know, we're currently available in every Whole Foods in New York City. We have yet to do a commercial. We've yet to do a billboard, a TV spot, a radio spot, any of that stuff. They've bought in 2 years. They've re-upped 12, 13 times. Okay. So, you know, natural pull through has been happening pretty consistently for about 2 years now. We need to supersize that. We need to take advantage of the opportunity.
Now, when you have a relationship with one like Whole Foods, is it all of your different flavors, if you will?
Yeah, they take everything.
They take everything.
They're taking less now because now we're going to need the Whole Foods in Northeast Indiana. We're going to need, you know, the Whole Foods in Michigan soon. I mean, we're expanding. So, okay, well, let's launch with a couple of brands and then we'll add more seasonally. So that's kind of been the way we're going. We're going to end up opening markets with 1 or 2 brands. Yep. And then introducing them, you know, 1 a quarter, 1 every 6 months, that kind of thing.
So 10 markets, 500,000 a piece. Yep. How is that going to be supported on the back end? And I already know the answer to it, but.
Well, I'm either buying a Peterbilt truck or we're buying a brewery. We're already working with a pretty good brewery. Yep. Thinking more along the lines of a truck. It'll be the economical way to do this. But more than anything, we have partners in place that are willing, ready, and able to kind of see us become the first nationalized Black-owned beer company in the 200-year history of beer. Yep. So that is encouraging.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're talking to a lot of people who have a lot of interest in seeing this happen. So that's kind of where we are.
So the 500,000 in each geographic, like city, metropolitan area, how does that money, like, because we've talked about this a little bit, is like, how at some point somebody's got to pick it off the shelf. Yeah. Right. Or order it at the bar or the hotel or whatever. Right. How can you influence that end customer, right? Without TV ads and stuff like that.
You can't. I mean, we're doing it now. So our business is based on driving trial. Yep. We have a funnel that we kind of push people down that ends with them being evangelists, but starts with them trying the product. And that we do pretty well. I mean, we did like 500 or so tastings this year. So we stay in front of customers. I mean, we're a new brand. All intents and purposes, you know, we're 3 years old, but this guy here didn't know about us, you know, so we have to kind of keep going in that regard. And that's going to take marketing dollars, quite frankly. Yeah. And so that's what we're doing. I mean, we need to develop a sales team, which we don't. I mean, we're essentially a 2-3-man operation. Yep. We need to develop a sales team. We need more brand ambassadors. We need billboards, radio spots, TV spots, you know, print ads. Yep. And that costs money. But once we get those, the research that we've done and the test marketing that we've done has shown that we can influence people to buy the product. People are attracted to the iconography. I mean, like you know, people like the swag. Start a beer company, everybody wants to fucking close. But you know, it's become a thing where we feel like we can kind of catch a wave, and people will think this is cool for at least a few years. I figure, you know.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, I think it's surprising that there's no easy way. There's no like, hey, I'm just going to allocate so much to my, you know, social media advertising, and this thing is going to take off. You know what I mean? It's a little bit more like,
A lot of our interest has come from social media ads and the kind of stuff that we've done and social. That's been our primary driver. That and, like I said, the brand ambassadorships, the kind of test marketing that we've done, the driving trial in stores and the like tap takeovers and things like that we do at retail locations. Those have been incredibly effective for us. That's where, again, as long as we can, if I can put liquid on lips, you'll be a Moor's drinker forever.
Yeah. I mean, the beer is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We spend a lot of time, like we spent a year coming up with the label, you know, and we've done just as much research and switched manufacturers to make the juice in the can even better than it was when we started the company.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to do that anymore. I think we have a partner now that we can nationalize with. But that's been important to us to make sure that, you know, the juice in the can, it looks good, you know, it's got to taste good. Otherwise, nobody's going to drink it twice. So that's kind of where we've been focusing on.
Yeah. Any other like high level challenges that you feel like were pivotal moments along the way that like you learned from, or if you would do it again? That
building the plane as we fly it, man, we've learned a shit ton. You know, again, there's been no blueprint for this.
Right.
There's no one I could call and be like, hey, how did you do this? You know, we've met a slew of, you know, Black brewers and brewery owners, and I am grateful to each one of them for the conversations and the insight that they've all brought.
Yeah.
It's just been really interesting being here in Chicago, in the third largest market in the country, and, you know, not really being able to have that. I got to have a conversation with a guy in New York. I got to have a conversation with a guy in LA. You know, it's us here in Chicago. You know? And so we're just trying to figure it all out. But some of the challenges that we've had have been, you know, we've had manufacturing challenges. We've had distribution challenges. We've had retail challenges that all, you know, somebody I'm sure had to deal with, but they just didn't look like me. And I couldn't call them. And I've been able to call, you know, what I consider our cultural allies, like yourself.
Yeah.
I've been able to call our cultural allies in the industry, and I have a few that are Johnny on the spot for me. Yo, you need a guy in Philadelphia to distribute your beer? Call my guy. You know, it's been actually refreshing. I got to tell you, John.
Yeah.
You know, I'm a shark, bro. I come from option trading. And I steal money from market makers for a living.
Yeah.
You know, to see somebody just straight give me game like that, I mean, that's never been, I'm like, okay.
Well, you would get out to the world and comes back to you.
I like to think that, but I really do. I have to say, the beer industry in general, I mean, you know, I'm looking at all these white guys with neck beards and fucking tattoos and Harleys and shit. I'm like, this is not gonna work. And those are the guys that are like, dude, call my guy. Like, and it's been amazingly refreshing to be in an industry where I was so welcomed, quite frankly. And these guys are competitors. They're not like, they're all competitors. Like I go to these, you know, events and there are 200 other breweries there, man. And they're all trying to sell their beer, but they're all interested in ours. And they've all, you know, figured out who we are and what we're about. And they know I'm unapologetically Black with this. And so are my partners. And we have no interest in being anything else. And they get it. And that's the part that's been like, wow, okay, these guys actually get what I'm doing. So,
that's, I mean, it's great. And I mean, just, you know, in summary, manufacturing beer is not the problem.
No.
Distributing beer is not the problem.
We got the largest distributor in the country distributing our beer. Reyes Distribution is top of the heap.
Yep.
And then I got, you know, Mr. Wirtz, who owns the Blackhawks, on my phone too. And I love the guy, and he loves Moore's beer as well. And we're trying to push beer with him in Toronto. Like, you know, it's been wild, man.
Yep.
Distribution is not the problem.
You got your artwork, you got the flavors, like you said.
Yeah.
They're dialed in. I can attest for it. Mm-hmm. And what you really need is the gas on the fire at this point.
Yeah, we got the track, we got the train. I need the coal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, great. So what's next, right? Like, it sounds like right now,
so much
capital is, you know, what's next on the radar in terms of bringing that in. And
yeah, that's going to happen. No, I'm not. I'm. We're gonna keep swinging the axe till the tree's gonna fall.
Yep.
So that I'm not worried about that. We're planning well beyond, just kind of the nationalization project, I should say.
Yep.
We're looking to open a tap room space.
Okay.
Trying to do.
What does that look like for you? I mean, like
it's going to be tough because again, we're really focused on the nationalization component.
Okay.
But we need to be able to sell our beer every day in a place where people can kind of be introduced to it outside of the chain stores, which work great for us. Our grocery store partners, as well as our retail partners that are, putting us on tap all over the city. Great relationships. But we, not having a designated tap room where people can come to drink more, so they can come to have a Moor's experience.
Yep.
That's starting to become a thing now. We've been asked every time we go to trial, oh, where's your tap room space? Oh, where's your brewery? I'm like, fuck, man, we don't have one. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's been kind of that way.
Yep. Would it just be taps and whatever? Or is it like a restaurant?
It's a restaurant with our beer on the wall, basically. Yep. And we're working that out now. I'm hopeful that we get that together early first quarter of next year.
Yep.
That's looking good. And we're going to make some different kind of products. We're looking to make a THC beverage.
Yep.
That's going to serve as a non-alcoholic for now. I'm also looking to do a non-alcoholic beverage, non-alcoholic beer, I should say. And yeah, I mean, those right now are the immediate ones. But I mean, we have just had a conversation with Jamal about something at an airport. We have a lot of irons in the fire, and we have a bunch of opportunities we can take advantage of. It's just about keeping all these plates spinning, man.
Keep the plates spinning. Sometimes you got to land one plane at a time. Yeah. Yeah. No shortcuts to.
No. 4:30 o'clock in the morning, man. We're doing burpees and shit now. It's crazy.
Love it. Well, thank you for sharing your story. I know. Man, I mean, I had the
That's it. We're done. Like, what are you doing?
Oh, you're not done.
Okay, all right. I'm about to say, like, I want to talk.
We got to get into those, into some fun questions. Okay. But no, I mean, I know I had the opportunity to just kind of individually hear, a lot of your background, a lot of your story. I agree with you completely that like all the pieces seem to be right there, ready for the taking, and just as an encouragement, you know what I mean? Just keep going.
There's no quitting me, bro.
No.
I say Ray Kroc when we saw like 2,000 people.
Yeah.
Like I haven't seen 2,000 people yet.
Yep. Every day.
Yeah.
You gotta get up.
It's 2 people today. But not 2,000. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
So I have a lot of work to do. We're not even thinking about quitting. It's not even
So if you were to okay, so you mentioned a couple of different ideas there. You got tap room, airport, whatever that is. You may not want to go into that. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got these 10 cities that you want to expand in.
That's the first thing that has. That's our Jackie Robinson moment.
Yeah,
we get in 10 cities across the U.S. That's done. And that would be the first time anyone that looks like me or my business partner would have been able to pull that off.
Does it have to be all 10 at once, or can it be a couple at a time?
I mean, yeah, it could be a couple at a time, but that's just not how, that's not how these major brands would have done it. If they launch something, they launch it nationally. We're not going to be able to do that. But again, that's a function of capital.
Yep. And you're comparing that to who when you said national brands?
Any other brewery of our size, anybody making 5,000-6,000 barrels a year that they're looking at going, man, we should take this national. They just take them national. Heineken buys them, AB InBev buys them, and then now you're in 10 markets across the country.
Got it.
With us, we're gonna have to phase that out. I don't have AB InBev money yet, so it's kind of that way. But the plan is strong. The demand is there. I mean, because of the advent of social media, we're able to kind of see where our pockets of strength lie. And I mean, we get requests from France and Germany and Johannesburg and Accra and Lego. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. Not only can we nationalize, I'm fairly certain we can make this an international product. I just don't want to ship it. I want to find a place to make it in Europe or in Africa or wherever.
But doesn't that mess with like the water, like the minerals in the water?
You got a Big Mac when you're in France.
Yeah. Le Big Mac.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? It's like, doesn't have to taste the fucking same. You just got a label on it. That's it. You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, we're, like I said, building the plane as you fly it. This is the type of stuff you figure out. Like, you know what? Let's not beat ourselves over the head with this. They want it in Joburg. Let's just bring the labels to Joburg and figure out what our beer tastes like out there.
Yeah.
And we're going to make sure it's good.
Yeah.
It's not going to be a, you know, step down from what we have in America, but it will be different. They're going to use different grain there.
Yep.
It's not going to be the same mix. I'm not flying all that crap back and forth. We're not going to do it that way.
Right. So like the hops and things like that would be totally different.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not going to, you know, you can get that for $11.99 in Benny's right now. I'm not going to make it so that over there it's $31. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't do it that way. So I want to make sure that we're at a price point locally in other markets that makes sense. Yeah. Just that, you know, it wouldn't be prudent to just, okay, we ship it from Colorado to Nice, France. Like, you know what I mean? And now it's $40 a 4-pack. Like, how much beer are you going to sell? Yeah.
And to your point, I think I could see it where relationships in the industry, people that have been there, done that, are valuable.
Invaluable.
Yes.
Yeah.
In terms of just being like, hey, here's the playbook on how you do this.
Exactly.
How you do it well.
Yep.
Yeah. Interesting. And then you mentioned the other categories, the THC and the NA beers.
Yeah.
I've heard just like
it's a
number of different pathways of stories, whether I read or somebody's telling me something they heard or, but those are two extremely fast-growing categories.
They are, and there are two extremely fast-growing categories that don't have a lot of Black-owned participation, just like this industry didn't. And I'm looking at everybody like, dude, we can do it again. We can do it again. We can do it again. You know, we see diversity, equity, and inclusion in this country kind of taking a hit since COVID. And I'm like, okay. I mean, it's not like everything's fair all of a sudden. Yeah. Like, you know, so I never understood kind of how that happened, but you know, I understand how it happens. But we're looking at these industries and saying to ourselves, you know, they're looking soft. They're looking like industries we can permeate. They're looking like industries we can bring our, you know, corporate culture to.
Yep.
And make noise, be disruptive. That's what we're looking to do in the beer industry. We're looking to be disruptors. And we've been pretty successul so far. I mean, there's nothing on the shelf that looks like our product. There's nothing on the shelf that's tasting like our product right now. And we're pretty proud of that.
Yep. And the NA beers in particular, I know we talked about this a little bit, but I think it's that they have to have extra time and heat and all that kind of stuff to burn off the alcohol.
It depends on the process. Some people do use this dealcoholization process where it's like Mavusha wine where they just kind of cook it off. And you make beer, you make a low ABV beer, and then you boil it off and you dilute it with water, more, hops for flavor and things like that.
Yep.
And then boom, it's under 0.5% alcohol. It's considered a non-alcoholic product. But yeah, it takes more time to make. That makes it more expensive to make. So a lot of places don't do it. But there's a couple of different places that are using, different hops and barley that make it a easier process.
Yep.
But we're researching and we're looking into that. We've got a manufacturing partner that's already making some pretty good stuff, and we're looking to, definitely work with them on it.
Very cool. All right, you ready for your final 3 questions?
Fuck yeah.
All right, let's go. Top 3, and hold on 1 second before I do. What are these different flavors that we got here?
Oh yeah, we got a few. I'm already drinking it. So
that's all right.
This is our OG. This is the Session Ale.
Yep.
We started the company with that beer. We bought a 30-barrel batch and drove away from the brewery with about, 330 cases or whatever. And I don't know, I just remember being so scared. Like that was the part that I just remember driving away from that brewery. and heading back into the city from Indiana with a U-Haul truck full of beer. And
you're like, what am I going to do with this stuff?
Fucking God, this is 6 pallets of beer. Like, you know, I mean, like, I'm like, well, you know, if nobody likes this shit, me and the boys got beer for the summer. You know what I mean? And we were sold out in 5 days. So that's what started us off.
All right, I'm going to partake then.
Yeah, absolutely. We need a glass, man. We'll get it later.
Yeah.
But that one is a Citra blend.
Okay.
It's got some notes of green papaya in the front. You can get some key lime. And in the back, it's got like a lemongrass acidity to it, but there's no adjunct in there. There's no additive. It's just a Citra hot blend. And we're real proud of that one.
Yep.
IPA. So our IPA is actually dry hop with honey malt. Okay. So it's not honey sweet. But IPAs, Indian Pale Ales, are inherently bitter because of the extra hops that are put in. Hops are preserved. I don't know if you know the story of IPAs, but basically while the British were colonizing India, they would send beer for the troops, and they had to put more hops in the beer that they would make in London so it would survive the shipping to India. The soldiers started drinking this hoppier beer, and they loved it. Now they came back to London after they colonized India, and they were like, why doesn't our beer have hops like that? So India Pale Ale only has anything to do with India because it was shipped from England to...
Interesting.
But hops are a preservative, so they got an inherent bitterness to them that, I mean, you know, I say this all the time. Like, I say, you know, black people don't like bitter. And then you'll leave out of here and go see some kid on the bus stop or whatever, and he's eating Sour Patch Kids. And you're like, oh, Damon told me that they don't like bitter. But it's like a sweet bitter. It's not really like a bitter.
Yep.
So we made sure that in the back of this one, you get a note of sweetness from the honey malt dry hop process that we use for that one.
I know that my wife actually does not like any like hop forward beers. So she likes a lot of hazies and, you know, things like that. But anytime I find a beer that is, I know to be still hoppy, but that isn't got that bite to it that you're kind of talking about, I'm like, you're going to like this one.
So this is like the second beer we made. And, you know, in 2021, we were just making beer for the African-American palate.
Yep.
Hoping that our cultural allies would like it as well. And this was one that they were just like, holy shit, this is, you know, so it just kind of became a thing that took off. And it was like, it was encouraging. It kind of emboldened the fact that we, maybe knew what we were doing a little bit, even though we were, you know, my business partner's a CPA auditor, and, you know, I'm a restaurant guy and options principal. So, you know, it's kind of like weird. You know, everybody else we knew in the space were actual brewers. So we kind of got a little bit of criticism for that at first too, because we were not brewers. But I think it was our approach to the space and not being kind of so closely tied to it like that would allow us to be a little more objective, quite frankly, than what we were seeing, especially out of the black brewers. Like, those were the ones that we're kind of comparing ourselves to before. Now we're comparing ourselves to everybody.
Yep.
But back then, when we were making this beer, that was really important to me, to kind of make sure that it was palatable for what I considered to be the African-American palate at the time, you know. This one, our Hellas Lager, is our 1-year anniversary beer. That one is, the adjunct on it is a honeydew melon. So it's got, like, you know, honeydew kiss in the back on it. 5.3 on that one. It's like one of our lighter ones. Really proud of that one too. Just the use of honeydew melon, you know, I'm always kind of on the edge anyway. So they were like, honeydew melon, you know, I'm like, yeah, but honeydew Hellas, like, it's got the alliteration. Like, you know, it's like, for me, it was more than just the flavor profile. It was the whole thing. It was, you know, how it looks. It's green, like, you know, so it was kind of one of those things for us, but it worked out. It's one of my favorite beers that we make. Super light, just a real true to style Munich style beer.
Yep.
With a little bit of, I'm going to season this for you guys, you know?
Yep.
And that's kind of how we roll with that one. And then I also brought out our Kolsch, which This is the first beer we're making with Prost Brewing in North Glen, Colorado. That's our new manufacturer. Shout out to Prost. Those guys are awesome.
Yep.
Our new facility is a $35 million behemoth, and we're very proud to be working with those guys.
Yep.
They are doing us right. You know, they were the reason why the beer is taking a step up in quality. And now I can, because of the association, we can comfortably service the nation if and when I can get the money to kind of pull that off. So that becomes an easier, you know, lift basically. But that one's just a real true to style. Kolsch is the German answer to Czech Pilsner. I wanted to make that style a year earlier, but we didn't have a Pilsner in the line. So we made the Pilsner first. You know, Jamal was like, dude, black people don't know what the fuck Kolsch is. And I'm like, all right, that can't be the reason. Like, you know what I mean? But we had to get a Pilsner off first. I'm glad that we did that. Our Pilsner's got Andrew Pear in it. Very proud of that too. But the Kolsch was one that once we got with a real German brew house like Prost, and you see all the, you know, the hard piping, and it's just beautiful. We got to take you out there. We got to go. It's ridiculous. But yeah, they were able to make me a beautiful Kolsch. It was a collab beer that we did, and I went out there looking to, okay, I'll put cucumber in the Kolsch, like another alliteration, a cucumber Kolsch. Like, you know, I'm thinking I'm fucking smart and shit, right?
Yeah.
And I get out there, and they give me this beer, and I taste it. And I brought Warren Sapp with me too, by the way. Warren is a day one investor in our company. He's a
heck of a football player too.
He's been known to bust a couple heads in the football.
He has a few.
Especially Bears. I don't know if you watch those Bears.
No comment. No comment.
But yeah, he tasted that blue can and was just like, so what do you want to do with this? I'm like, I don't know. What should we add? He's like, fuck you add. Why would you add it? He's like, this is beautiful, all right? So it was kind of one of those. I went out there looking to add cucumber and came home like, nah, we're just going to rock this recipe. And we've already won an award for it. I forget which award it was. So, yeah. But people like it. People like that one, you know?
And then, so I think and then there's probably a couple other ones in your.
I have an Imperial Porter.
Okay.
Porter adjunct on that one is lavender. Lavender doesn't really have it's kind of an olorific. It's not really you don't really taste, it tastes like purple flowers, whatever the fuck that tastes like, you know? But it's got some hints of blueberry in the front. You get the burnt espresso and the cocoa nib kind of taste to it. People like that one. They call me Porter Patton. When it comes off the line and we have it, we're making it seasonally now.
Yeah.
So we're going to be getting that next week. It'll be available in stores next week here in the Chicagoland area and in New York. But yeah, that one is far and away my favorite. It's our strongest beer. It's 8.3 ABV. Dark, but it drinks like a 6.5. Yeah, real proud of that one. There was no other porter we were able to find that had lavender in it. And I mentioned the Michelin star group I used to work for. One of the cool things about that is we now have an in-house sommelier that works with the company, as well as an executive chef that works with our company. So when we have kind of like pairing or flavor questions, I have a deep bench of people that we can kind of go to elevate beer with. Like, okay, how would you do this? You know, I mean, here's the flavor notes. What do you think? And for the porter specifically, they're like, dude, look up lavender. And I'm like, lavender? What does lavender taste like? Lavender's not a taste. It's like, it's a color. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, look up lavender coffee. And I look up lavender coffee. It's like fucking some of the most expensive coffee you can buy. Like, look up lavender chocolate. Look up lavender chocolate again. Some of the most expensive chocolate you can buy. And I'm describing a beverage to this gentleman that's got chocolate and coffee notes. And he's like, dude, just put lavender in it. So I'm like, all right. And we did it. And I'm like, okay, this is okay.
Now I get it.
Right. So
very interesting. All right, now you get the final three questions. So, and I always say, any of these questions, feel free to adapt. But the first one is top 3 rock and roll bands of all time.
Oh fuck, really? All time?
Of all time.
Oh man, dude. So
You a rock and roll guy?
I am.
Had people.
I have. Listen, I played lacrosse goaltender, and I listen to a little bit of rock and roll in those fucking locker rooms. Okay, but AC/DC for me is up there.
Yeah, I think that might be a first timer.
AC/DC is cool to me. I also like what was the name of that group that Grohl went to after he got out?
Foo Fighters.
Foo Fighters. That's another one I like a lot.
Yeah.
And then third, rock and roll band. Fuck me, man. John's asking the good ones. Rock and roll band. And I'm gonna get you like Whitesnake.
Whitesnake, man, you're really going back.
Yeah, man. I'm an old man. I'm 48 years old.
Who's your favorite three artists in general?
Of all time? Yeah. Any genre?
Whatever, yeah.
Miles Davis.
Yeah. Awesome.
Miles. Fela Kuti.
Okay.
And
all right. So annual holiday. We are here in the midst of the land between Thanksgiving, New Year's, Christmas, Hanukkah, all the stuff. Yep. Any holiday that stands out to you, and I'm always surprised that, different people like different holidays for different reasons.
I think my favorite holiday, I'm not a holiday guy. I'm gonna preface this by saying I'm not a holiday guy.
Okay.
I'm a absolute curmudgeon, quite frankly. Like, I'm like, nah. I'm the Grinch at Christmas. I'm like, just not. All of them are like, what are we doing? Like, you're lying to the kids about Easter. You do like, it's just a whole thing for me, right?
Yep.
But if I have to say one as a favorite, I would have to say Thanksgiving. Even though, Thanksgiving also has a torrid history associated, and that's the thing. I'm a history buff, so I go look up what happened, and I'm like, oh, this is fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, that's an interesting. Yeah, I mean,
it's a cool, like now it's like, oh, family, yeah. But you look at the
actual history
of Thanksgiving. I'm like, dude, this is not okay. First of all,
that's why I said that I'm always surprised, because occasionally somebody will say Memorial Day or like something like that. And
that's a good one too. I didn't realize Memorial Day was started by a bunch of black soldiers until I started looking that up.
There you go.
But favorite, it's probably Thanksgiving. I like the sit around the table thing. I like the family thing of it all. Food's pretty decent sometimes if you get the right things. I again have a bunch of friends who are Hasidic Jews in Miami Beach. So Christmas, I'm eating duck from the Chinese food store, bro. It's like that's the way I roll.
Yep. My little trick on the turkey. Slow and low.
Yeah.
You gotta smoke it.
Sure.
That's the best way to do it.
I've done Soul and Smoke.
What's that?
Soul and Smoke in Evanston.
Yeah.
Just let DeAndre Carter take care. Like Thanksgiving's great over there.
Okay.
So
good to know.
Probably gonna be good too, truthfully.
All right.
But I'm eating duck.
You're eating the duck.
Yeah, man. It's gonna be duck and like string beans and I eat Chinese food on Christmas. Like,
that's fair enough. If you weren't doing what you're currently doing for work, completely unrelated career.
Oh my God, bro. I'd be robbing people.
I didn't finish. Completely unrelated legal career that you could see yourself enjoying and thriving in. Now, you have a unique perspective because you've also done a number of different things.
Sure.
And you also have, I just think the personality where you're going to be like, I'm going to be successful at whatever I do. Right. But I'm just curious, like, is there something that comes to mind that?
Yeah, I like the Asia Pacific a lot.
Okay.
So I don't know that I'd be here, quite frankly.
Okay.
I'd be looking for something to do there. And, it could involve any of a number of things, restaurants, hotels, casinos, nightlife,
hospitality in general.
Tourism, hospitality in general. So, I mean, I like Asia.
Yeah. Any specific area or?
Thailand. Thailand is beautiful.
Yeah.
But I got a chance to be in Singapore, which is also beautiful.
Yep.
I got a chance to be in Hong Kong, which is hilariously crazy town, but I could see myself there too. I mean, there's nothing that you can't get there that you can get here.
Yep.
And so I've taken way more of a worldview in my old age, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't think I need to just stay in America. So, I mean, I like a lot of places, man. I've had a chance I speak Spanish, so I got another language in me. I love to take down Mandarin or Arabic before I die.
Yep.
And I've seen some beautiful, beautiful places that I'm like, I gotta get there. So,
well, let's get you to the 35,000 barrels and $300 million bucks, and then you can do that.
Yeah, sure can.
All right, love it. Damon Patton, thank you for being here.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Keep on keeping on, man. And
so I got to tell everybody,
get there. Yeah.
Moorsbeer.com, first of all.
Okay, yes.
Moorsbeer.com.
Okay.
At Moorsbeer on Instagram. Let's see here, emancipationball.com, which is our Juneteenth celebration that we do every year here in Chicago.
Okay.
That one I'm really proud of. It's a chance for our 501c3, the Care Moor Foundation for Civic Engagement, to give away scholarships to college-bound students. We also do a bunch of programming throughout the year with violence prevention and adult education, just continuing education for adults, and a lot of programs for youth to just kind of keep them off the streets and give them alternatives to the kind of stuff that we saw growing up. I also should mention, what else? Probably going to end up with a brouhaha, which will be our festival of music, comedy, beer, and food next year coming up. So look out for that. But yeah, moorsbeer.com, at Moorsbeer on Instagram, and all social media platforms. You can find us there, and you can figure out exactly what the hell we're doing, because we're doing a lot.
And where to find it.
Yeah, we can find this all over the city of Chicago. So Benny's, Whole Foods, Mariano's, Jewel, those are our mainstay kind of chain stores.
Yep.
And wherever fine beer is sold, you should ask for Moor's Beer. If they don't have it, they'll have it 3 days later.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you bet.
Absolutely.
Love it. Thank you.